This is our stop motion armature. As you can see, it's what's called a ball and socket armature. It's got two plates with a ball on each side, on each end of the joint actually, with a mounting screw in the middle. And what that allows us to do, that contraption, that configuration, is as we tighten on the screw in the center, it actually squeezes the two plates down on top of these two balls, which are sandwiched left and right on the joint. The idea is that if you can apply pressure to those balls, you can make the joint really sticky or firm, so it won't slide around as you're animating, and that's something you really don't want. You really want the armature to stay where it is when you've left it for stop motion animation. So you can do a little increment and stop, and it stays there. Move an increment, stop, and it stays there. Otherwise, what can happen is if your joint is loose, let's say, on the armature, you lift your hand, you go to the camera, and meanwhile it's kind of dropping the entire time that you're gone. So when you get around to taking the frame, you started here, but you wound up here, and that's not going to help you when you're doing any animation. So the idea is to tighten these joints up and keep them as firm as you can. Ball and sockets work really, really well for that. In our character, we've got ball and socket joints in the shoulders, the elbows, of course, in the hips, the knees, and the ankles. Once we've got our skeleton built, or the armature built, in this case, and this is his neck joint, by the way, we've got him so he can articulate in the hip. So he's got hip rotation, shoulder rotation, elbow, of course. He's got some wrist movement, leg, knee, or hip movement, knee movement, ankles, toes even. He's even got some toe angles going on in there. So this guy was fully articulated, and oftentimes you don't need it to be that sophisticated. You can get away with a lot less. But because we were going for a maximum range of emotion and movement for our character, as you saw in the film, we needed as many joints as we could get into the character within reason. So we opted for the ones I just mentioned. Of course, there's a heck of a lot more you can do with a larger, more sophisticated puppet. You can get really tiny incremental movements through tinier joints and wires and whatnot, but this is really all we needed to go with. Once we get our armature built, this build-up process comes into play, and what this is a matter of for us, we have basically through the center, it's just a T of steel. It's a steel rod to the hip joint, a steel rod across to the shoulder joint. We needed to fill that space in, so when we grab onto his costume, when we grab onto his shirt to move him, we didn't have a huge amount of compression, so the shirt wouldn't be fluttering and bouncing because it was empty inside when you actually see the film single frame, because each time you touch that guy, it makes the shirt flutter. You see that in King Kong on the fur, for instance. So one way to minimize that is to create an underbody, sort of a torso for us, by using foam and cotton batting. So we have some foam pieces in there that we've stacked up to create a firm underbody there, or a torso. And we wrapped it in cotton batting to help fill out the cloth. So the cloth had something, the shirt from the linen had something to hold on to. It was a little easier for us to deal with that way. And the other thing with cotton batting is the foam would only cover up areas that we don't need to access with a screwdriver or to get in there to fix or manipulate anything. So we would lay in the foam in any area that was non-access friendly, and then we'd lay in the cotton batting on top of that. So where we had joints, the cotton batting would actually go over the joints. And our costume designer, Rosary Quack, did a fantastic job of sewing this stuff up. So the cotton batting would wrap around the torso and then get sewn up on one side. So if we needed to get inside there, we could always cut a couple stitches, reach in, manipulate, tighten screws, whatever, and then stitch them back up under the costume.